I worked in marketing and advertising when I was first out of college, and those are very long days. And so I realized, like, when I had my children, I was like, I'm not going to be able to balance both. And so it took a few years off, and then I was kind of a little interested in real estate sales. I was an independent contractor, so it gave me the opportunity to kind of set my schedule, set my family life, and do all that. And so back, there weren't many jobs that you could do that gave you that flexibility to work around your kid's schedule. But what I found was that I couldn't get men to hire me. They didn't really want a woman in their office doing this work. And I really had a champion in one of the partners that I ended up doing work with who really believed in me. And I think throughout my career, what I would say for many women is you have to find those champions out there, because I think that is one of the ways that you kind of break down those barriers.
Welcome to Women and Work, the show where we take an inside look at how women are overcoming our own unique challenges as we grow our careers or build a business while nurturing relationships and family. I'm Diane Mocha, founder and CEO of MomSub, the childcare app that connects you to a substitute mom. And I want you to know that work can fit your life. Each week, we meet a woman who has done that. And today I'm with Marla Fronczak. She is the CEO of AgeGuide, a nonprofit that provides services to older members of the community. She's been working to improve the lives of seniors for more than 15 years. She started at AgeGuide as a community planning manager and moved up to top leadership. Thanks for being here, Marla.
Thank you. My pleasure.
So we recently learned that after a remarkable career of improving the lives of older Americans, veterans, and others in underserved populations, you're going to be retiring. And I want to take a look back and see how you overcame some of the obstacles that you must have faced in your rise to leadership, especially as a woman. What do you think was the biggest challenge you faced in your entire career, specifically because you are a woman?
Yeah, I think that it's interesting in the aging network. I don't think I felt it as much. It is really too many of us. It is a woman led, and I almost want to say due to probably salaries and other reasons that maybe
Nurturing,
it's and
right?
nurturing and just that givingness and that willingness to do that. So I don't think I found as many barriers in that. But if I look back to when you talk about careers and how women can work and do these, when my children were younger, I actually had my own business as a real estate appraiser. And I was able to do it because of the flexibility of doing it. And so back, there weren't many jobs that you could do that gave you that flexibility to work around your kid's schedule. But what I found was that I couldn't get men to hire me in terms of wanting to do this work. They didn't really want a woman in their office doing this work. And I really had a champion in one of the partners that I ended up doing work with who really believed in me. And I think throughout my career, what I would say for many women is you have to find those champions out there, because I think that is one of the ways that you kind of break down those barriers. And so if someone is maybe saying no, there's someone else that's going to be out there that's going to say yes. So it's the believing in yourself and saying, okay, that door didn't open, but there's another door that's going to open for me. And oftentimes, I think as women, we might have to prove ourselves a little bit harder. We might have to work a little bit harder, but we're built for it. We're multitaskers. We're by nature, we are the people that when I look at who we hire and who we do it, the people who are managing a family and managing a career and oftentimes going back to school and doing those things, we know that they're going to be successful in their career because we know that they can handle multiple things and they are organized and they are efficient and they're able to do that. So I think taking some of those skill sets, especially as maybe parents or in other things, and trying to leverage that in terms of showing somebody, yeah, I might not have that paid experience right now, but let me show you what I have done and what I did. And I think that's the way it's like throughout my career, I've been able to leverage that. So after I had done real estate appraisals, and I want to say it was during the '08 market,
Oh,
there where kind of my business dried up and I had to kind of reinvent myself. And at that time, I was working with my parents and my grandparents through their aging journeys. So my father had to have his leg amputated. They could no longer stay in their house. So I was finding them a senior community. My grandmother had gone into long-term care. And what I learned was I really loved working with the older adult population. And so I got to know the people in the senior community where I moved my parents. And so I thought, I want to try this. I'm going to see about, maybe getting a job in marketing senior communities. Went back to school, got some gerontology courses, did something. And I'll tell you what I faced was some ageism. So this was back when I was in my 40s and people did not want to hire me even though I like had this experience of like I can relate to the kids who are moving their parents into these situations. I can relate to all these aspects. They kind of wanted somebody younger in these positions. And so what I found was I again found a network of people. So these were people that encouraged me to, if I didn't have paid experience, go out and volunteer. So I actually home delivered meals. I went to the provider in King County. I would delivered meals. I ended up being on their board. And so I created experience so that when the opportunity came for me to get a job in the aging network, I at least had some experience in doing that. Now, the position I took was a position I never thought I would have because I really did think I was going to go into this retirement community. But I ended up working for DuPage County Community Services as a long term care ombudsman. And that is an advocate for residents in long term care and assisted living. And it helps advocate for their rights to make sure that they are getting the proper medications, that their food is good, that the nurses are taking care of them, that their needs are being met, and that their rights are being upheld. So little did I know that was going to kind of be my advocacy journey, but that was kind of me dipping my toe in there. And from there, that's when I ended up going to AgeGuide. And so AgeGuide was kind of the umbrella agency, as you will, like we were the regional entity that funded the program that I was working for. And it gave me the opportunity to kind of expand my advocacy at a bigger level than just doing the direct service that I was doing. But the only reason I really truly believe that I was able to do that was because I found those people out there. I found my networks, and that relationship building, I will say, is so important to people. Is if you don't know somebody in the field, find them. Find those opportunities out there. Most of the people I met with were very willing to talk to me and to encourage me on my path and to open some doors for me. And so I was very grateful that I ended up at Age Guide. And I never, even when I started there, thought that I was be in those leadership positions. But again, I had people that believed in me in the organization and so encouraged me to take management positions. And then in my 50s, actually went back, got my master's degree in nonprofit management so that I was ready when the opportunity came, and probably have never looked back in the 10 years I've been doing it.
how did you nurture or even develop or find those relationships? So you started as a volunteer because you thought maybe I'll want to go into this and I'm having a hard time, getting
Yeah.
anywhere without connections. But of course, if you're kind of trying to meet people strategically in a
Yeah.
transactional way, it doesn't often work out. But were you developing friendships, and then as you're meeting people, through work, do you do social things to strengthen those connections? Do you do extra work? Do you go to events? What did you do to really build that? Because some
Yeah.
people don't know how to take that extra piece, especially nowadays. There's so many things that are online.
True.
There's so many people that don't feel as comfortable sort of nurturing those relationships. How did you do that?
Yeah. Yeah, no, very true. It was a different time. So more people were meeting in person. And I think I had initially I went to a senior resource fair. So I wanted to kind of see like who are the organizations out there. And I met somebody who was marketing again, I wanted to kind of really go into marketing a retirement community. So I met somebody there who wanted, was open to having coffee with me and talk about things. And from there, they connected me to a couple networking groups. So from those networking groups, I was able to again go to other events where I continued to just meet other people. And the person that I actually connected with that was at DuPage County, they were looking, they had a couple open positions, and they were like, well, I know this isn't really what you're looking for, but it might be a nice way to get your foot in the door and get some experience. And so probably took a lesser position than I would have, but I was determined to work my way through that. And so sometimes I think and women probably will do this a little more than men, will take a position and work their way through it and realize that there is a path forward. And so that was really my motivating factor. So again, it was finding those networks of those professionals out there, talking to people, and I think the volunteerism is so key, because if you're willing to help with organizations, they're going to see you as a person that really might be willing to be a good employee out there too. So I encourage people again. Sometimes it's just that informal opportunities that might lead to other opportunities.
Great advice. Your career, it's obviously hugely important to you, but there's more to you than just
Yeah.
your career. And I wonder if you always knew, even when you were young, that you wanted to have a family, that you wanted to have a career, that you wanted to keep both of them, or if it just sort of happened that way.
Yeah, no, I think I always did. And so when, I worked in marketing and advertising when I was first out of college, and those are very long days. And so I realized, like, when I had my children, I was like, I'm not going to be able to balance both. So I really had to reevaluate what I could do around my children. So it took a few years off, and then I was kind of a little interested in real estate sales, but the appraisal really I was able to better manage my Monday through Friday time doing that. And I loved being an entrepreneur. I was an independent contractor. So it gave me the opportunity to kind of set my schedule, set my family life, and do all that. And I'm not sure if I would have continued to do that if the market had stayed different. Excuse me. But then it was the opportunity, I really think, in terms of embracing aging, because what I recognized was we're all going to age. We're all aging every day. We're breathing, we're aging.
And you were going through it
And I was
with
going
your
through it
family
with my
members.
family, right? So while I was raising young kids, I was kind of that sandwich generation of helping aging parents as well too. And that really sparked something in me, because I really wanted others to be supported and to be able to do that. So, excuse me. Thank
There you
you.
go.
Thank
Yes.
you.
And so you had this experience where the kids came along, you took a little time out, but you're like, I'm going to go back to a career
Correct.
that works for my life, which we talk a lot about on this
Yeah.
podcast. And so how many kids did you have? How old were they when you said, I need to get back to a career? And were you feeling that yearning, like, I need to have a separate identity? Was it like financial? We need more money? What was the impetus to really
Yeah.
get you back?
I think it was a little bit of both. My kids were just entering school, so they were about 5 years old when I made that change. And so I wanted something that I could do again that was a little bit flexible. But I think I truly did miss that identity and that role. And so while it's hard to balance all of it. So one of the things that what we recognize is not only caregiving for older adults, but caregiving in general. And a lot of what we do in our work at AgeGuide is how can we get employers to better support working caregivers? So, looking at their policies and their flexibility at AgeGuide, we've been very mindful in how we've been doing that. And so we kind of call it like a little stage of life because we all go through these stages of life, whether we're supporting our raising young kids, whether we have aging parents, whether we have health issues that we have to take care of. They all involve needing some flexibility and some opportunities for our employers to do that. And we really found that, and I will say during the pandemic, it did open our eyes to how work could be more flexible. And we wanted to really build on that so that not all work has to take place in the office, that people can caregive at home and be able to still get their work done in different hours or in different ways. And so this just kind of leveraged, I think, things that I was experiencing in my life and wanted to make sure that we're giving good quality of life to all the people that we employ. And then we're taking that one step further. And we want to make sure that there are caregiver policies out there statewide, federally, so that all people feel supported and that they know their help is out there. A lot of times, people won't tell their employers that they're experiencing these issues. They're either fearful and they're trying to manage, trying to do health appointments or do other things, and they're missing work or they're not as present because they again are dealing with multiple things. And to get employers to recognize that supporting that person is far more beneficial to them and actually can save them so much money in employee turnover. And so, how do we kind of flip that narrative? And it's not just women out there, men are doing a lot of the caregiving as well out there. And my son just had their second child, and he was fortunate to get paternity leave. Not all men get that either. So, this caregiving journey, both men and women, we want to make sure that families are supported in whatever the way they are. Sometimes they're the family you build outside of, your immediate families, right? They're your friends you're taking care of. They're your relatives in other ways. And so how do we just kind of recognize that is part of who we are? And how do we really build that into our work? So that has really been a lot of our advocacy too. It's really
Interesting.
supporting that.
Because there is this push for employers to really understand their employees from a holistic perspective, but there's a lot of pushback we have found in terms of employers accepting that this is something that you can invest in, you will get a return, but it takes a little initial investment and
Correct.
understanding, and there's a barrier to get past that initial phase. And I wonder how you've been able to do that, and what you think has been successful in helping the employers to understand this benefits everyone, them, their employees, and the community at
Yeah.
large.
Yeah, we've been very good at actually showing them a lot of the statistics, like you said, like what are the benefits of doing this. But we also work with them on policies and working with their employee assistance programs to say, like, how do you contact the area agency if I did need like a ride for my mom's doctor's appointment? So there are underutilized resources that they're not even connecting their employees to. And so those opportunities, again, it's just a lot of education and getting people really to recognize that little incremental changes can make a big difference in employee satisfaction and their ability to stay in those jobs. And also, I think looking at employment flexibility in terms of part time and full time, and really giving people the opportunity where you might be able to break down a job, and especially in terms of older workers. And a lot of our advocacy around age friendly workplaces is saying that, and I'm going to be experiencing this soon too, right? Like, I don't know that I'm done. I might be done with this position, but I know there's more in me. And I know the conversation we had earlier around what are you going to do for the next 20 years, or what are you going to do? I think there are many opportunities that I would like to do, but they might not be a 9 to 5, 5 days a week. And they might not be in a CEO position because I might have other interests that would allow me to, again, stay engaged. And then we look at just the workforce itself. More people are going to be over the age of 65 than under 18. So, how are we going to be able to keep the workforce that we have is a way that we've got to keep people employed longer, but maybe in different ways. And so, again, those caregiver policies, those flexible policies are going to allow people to maybe even keep people like me in a position that you might say, hey, I know you don't want to do this right now, but maybe you could do this project for us. Or maybe we'll have you back in a different role. And that helps people transition into those next phases. And I think we're all going to have to look at that because the longevity and the economics of aging, many people are not prepared for the true cost of what it's going to be for when they retire. And so they're going to want to look for those opportunities too. So I think for all of us, and in particular, working women, it's how do we make sure that we are getting the support we need and the flexibility we need in the workplace to make sure we have that work life balance, I think is really key.
And you found in your early career that you didn't have it. You weren't necessarily going to be supported as a mother. And at that point, you either couldn't or didn't negotiate to consult or go part-time or whatever. And they may have benefited
I wish I had known.
from having an opportunity
Yeah.
to keep you.
Yes.
If and more people are trying to make those arrangements. I was a freelance reporter, and I set out as a joke, to my managing editor, like, oh, I would just love to go 2 days a week, because he asked me to come back after I'd been gone for 6 months. And he said, we can arrange that. And I said, oh, great. And then that defined the next 15 years of my life.
Wow.
So I wonder.
And you didn't even think that.
I didn't. I don't know why. I mean, as a
Right,
freelancer,
right.
but
Why,
it just
yeah.
was so common that even as a freelancer, you were working 5
Right,
days a week,
right.
and that was what turned out to be perfect for me. And then eventually I ended up becoming a serial entrepreneur, but that was a separate thing on the side. But you decided, okay, I'm going to have to take a step back. It's kind of all or nothing. And then when you did seek to continue your career in another direction, did you have to get childcare, or did you manage, because of the age your kids were and the direction you went in, that you never really had to put your kids in daycare, hire a nanny, get babysitters, that you avoided all that stress? How did you deal with it?
Yeah. I mean, I guess for me is I did take that time when my kids were smaller. And then when I did start real estate appraisals, one child I had that was just starting in kindergarten, I had another one that was 3, my other son. And I was fortunate that I had a good friend that actually did childcare, and she would just kind of let me drop off kids like when I had an appointment. So I didn't have to commit to like a month of childcare. I did have to do some aftercare, with school and things like that. So I did have to do those things, but I had some flexibility of, okay, I won't make appointments on a Monday and Friday. I'll just work from home. There wasn't really work from home back then, but I was able to do it like with the work I was doing. So I kind of modeled some of the things that I look at now without really knowing that I was doing it, but it did allow me again to kind of have that opportunity to have a career and still be able to kind of balance like home life and aging parents and all the other things that kind of come with it. Yeah.
And so you had that great flexibility, but yet at a certain point you said, I want to be an employee again. I want a
Yeah,
full-time job.
I did.
And was it the age of your children and you were sort of looking to fill that gap? And was it something in you as well that you were looking to fill?
Yeah, I think it was one that I did have the opportunity that they were in school full time and they were getting older. But I'm gonna also say financially, I was facing, college years and things like that. And so how was I gonna be able to manage that? So we knew that we probably needed a little more income to be able to do that. And so I think that's really what set me out on being able to say, okay, I will tell you, I remember the first days of like working like a 9 to 5 job and thinking like, my kids were coming home from the bus. I was like, well, this is really different. Like,
Because
there
you weren't
was
there.
because I wasn't there and and so
So you had that mom guilt.
I did have a little bit of that. I mean, I don't know how any of us don't, because they truly I was lucky when I was little, my grandmother lived with us. So my mom, was working and, I had the opportunity of having a grandparent at home. And so those multi-generational families, really allowed women to work and do that. Like we really informally created a lot of those opportunities for people too. And we don't always see that anymore. Families are spread out and they're not really able to kind of have that. And so the people, you have to find other opportunities and what you're doing. And so yeah, I think some of it was the wanting to like it was kind of that time. Like what was my career going to be and where was I going to go? So I do definitely feel like I was feeling that how I got to where I got to that just kind of built on itself. But it's been such a gift. I mean, it's just been such a gift to be able to create and work with this dedicated network of aging professionals and all that they have dedicated their careers to supporting all of us as we age and to impact policy and to work with those elected officials to really recognize that these are disinvested programs that you really need to recognize that we leverage so much between our local resources and our volunteerism and all of that. And so the return on investment is so great. People are feeling good. People are living longer. It's like,
And they're contributing.
and they're contributing. And it frustrates me sometimes because they can't see the opportunities that continued investment can make in these programs. So I think that's what really drives the work that we do. That's why I think I'm most proud of the advocacy work we do because without change, we're not going to get it. Just like you said, if you didn't ask for 2 days a week, you're not going to get it. So we have to continue to kind of raise those voices out there and we've got the numbers. I mean, 12,000 people a day are turning 65. So, the numbers are there and the voices are there. And so we've got to start creating that society that we want. And it is very different. I mean, we're experiencing this globally, this global aging phenomenon. And people are not only turning 65, but they are living longer. And so for me, like when you were talking about what does that next chapter, and I'm like, I don't know yet, but I'm going to tell you, there's some years there, and I had a good role model in my mom. She reinvented herself time and time again. So she retired at 70 and worked for an adult literacy or volunteered for adult literacy for a number of years, did their board, Then she got involved politically with the fighting a high rise behind her senior building. That's how she ended up running for the village board at 80. And so I always think about how she led her life, and I want to know that like I still have that impact and that I'm still able to do those things. So I'd love to come on your show a few years from now, tell you what I might be doing, but I know that there's other opportunities out there for sure. So
Fantastic. And you've already had so much impact. You've done so much in this career and life, right? Raising kids and all that you've achieved. If you could go back to an earlier time, knowing then what you know now, what's one thing you would change?
I think my one thing that I would change. That is such an interesting question. I don't think I've done that retrospective. There was a time, I come from a family of educators. And so my mom was very influential, Chicago Teachers Union, and my sister as well. And early on, when my kids were little, she was like, "Go get your teaching license. Go, go do that." And I was like, I don't see myself like in that role of like teaching. But I always kind of look back and go, if I would have thought about an administrative track and been able to, I think more of the, I think I just have that policy part of me. I might have gone down that road. And I just didn't see that part of it. But I think other than that, I think all the changes that happened, they all kind of led me to where I was going to be. So I don't regret any change or any of those things, but I think all of us see a couple career turns you might have made that you're like, oh, but I don't know what that would have been either. Like, and so that was just one that always like kind of was like, I could have made an impact there, but I'm really happy I made the impact where I did. I think that was these were my people.
You found your people.
I
That's a
did.
beautiful
I
thing.
did.
Thank you for all that you've revealed on today's
Oh,
episode
thank you.
of
It was
Women and
such a
Work.
delight. I really enjoyed our conversation.
I am so glad, and I'm sure that our viewers and listeners did as well. If you enjoyed today's episode, we want you to share it with a friend, leave a review, and subscribe to meet our next amazing guest. If you or anyone you know is struggling to find the right childcare, just submit your criteria and then watch a video interview with the ideal nanny who fits your family at momsub.com. That's momsub, like a substitute mom. Our mission is for you to get the help you need so you can discover what you want in life, pursue it with intensity, and fulfill your dream, reducing your stress, guilt, and self-criticism, and increasing your calm, confidence, and clarity along the way. Remember, your career, your choices, and your success are yours to define. So keep pushing boundaries and spreading your love and encouragement to other women who need it.